Hi guys, and welcome back. Let's see if we can make this a good year. It's going to be a different year, but we can make it good. So most of you know me because I've been here before, but my name is Bear, and I'm going to be doing transportation technology this year. I'll be taking care of all the technology systems on the bus. Primarily, there are three systems that are our primary concern on the bus. We have the Synovia system, the security camera system, and the two-way radios. And so I'm going to kind of go over a quick overview on some of those systems today. First of all, let's talk about security cameras. All the current route buses have security cameras on them. This summer I went through every one of the buses to make sure that all of the cameras are recording. All of the cameras are functioning, recording. The date and time on the cameras, DVR is set correctly, and so we now know, if they have to go back and find any incident based upon time, that Job or Jerica can go back and find that fairly quickly and easily. The security cameras are there not to be spying on you, but to watch for student interaction and such, and so that we can back up any of your claims. If there was an incident on the bus, they can support you with that, or any discipline issues or anything like that. They have visual and audio proof of what the student did and said. So there's not a whole lot that I'm going to talk about on the security cameras, because really those are just self-sufficient units, self-contained units. You don't really have to have any interaction with those at all. If there is an incident, you'll file a report with Job or Jerica, and they'll go and pull the video off it. So you shouldn't have to do anything at all with those. And so that should be totally transparent to you. Second thing is Synovia. Those of you who have been here before know what the Synovia is and how it does and doesn't work, but mostly it's going to work this year. We're gonna try to make it as functional as possible this year. I am going to need your help in giving it another shot, doing your best to make it work, and letting me know if it doesn't work. And I'll go through more detail on that here in just a little bit on the Synovia system. The third thing is we have new two-way radios on the buses. All of the current route buses have a radio installed. It may not be in the same place as your old radio was. We had LCRA come in and do the installs, and so they put them in the best place they possibly could, because these are physically larger units, and someone had to be moved into a little different spot. But boy, they're so much better than the old radios. They're all digital units. They're clear, crystal clear, and then they have great range. We're running, instead of running off of the one little repeater tower that we had on top of the high school building, these are now all running off of the LCRA tower network. And LCRA has towers, we should have coverage all the way from the coast to Junction, north of Austin, all the way down to the valley. So we should not get out of range of the radios at all. You should have a lot better coverage and no dead spots. Hopefully, we may find some, but I think for the most part we'll be much better pleased with the coverage on this. With the radios, there's a little bit of new stuff on there. For the most part, it's going to operate the same way as the old radios. So I'm going to go through in a little bit and talk more about the radios. Let's see. I have to check my notes here to make sure I got the right stuff. Okay. If you're doing a sub bus, you will actually pick up a sub radio as you pick up your keys, because the sub buses do not have, except for two of them I think, do not have radios installed on them. So you'll actually have a handheld radio that you'll need to take with you when you're driving a sub bus. And I'm going to go over the operations of both of those radios here in just a minute. That's pretty much it. Let me go over. One thing is, and this is kind of a general note over all of it. Question is, how do I know the technology on my bus is working? Okay, and that's a good question. As I said about the security cameras, you really won't see anything there. There's no interaction you'll need to do with that, and so that, as we do periodic checks on those, we'll know whether they're working or not. As we're testing and making sure everything functions through the periodic checks. When you get on the bus in the morning, both the radio and the Synovia should be off. Okay, they should be not lit up. If they are, you'll need to let me know, and we have a web form that you can do for technology issues on the bus, and I'll show you how to get to that after a while as well. If we don't have, if they are on, let me try that. We'll need to let me know, because I need to set those where they go off, because we don't want those staying on all the time, running the battery down. When you start the bus, the Synovia system should go ahead and beep and come right on up. And that should be automatic every day, and you shouldn't have to do anything to do that. The radio, you should also leave it turned on at all times on the volume and on knob. It will take about a minute before it starts up. It's on a delay to start up. Once you start the bus, it won't come on immediately. It's got about a minute before it comes on, and the reason for that is when we start these buses, the alternator fluctuates quite a bit up front, and those voltage differentials they're not good for the radios, and so we have it not coming on until the voltage from the alternator has settled down a little bit, and then it should go ahead and come on. I would leave the radio on, the volume knob on at all times. Don't even change anything there. Set it at a comfortable volume for you, and just leave it and let it go ahead and do its thing. When you turn the bus off, both the Synovia and the two-way radio are set to have about a 30-minute delay before they turn off. So again, if they're functioning correctly, and I'll need your help in making that happen. If they're functioning correctly, you'll leave the bus. When you finish your post trip, they will both still be on. Your radio and your Synovia will both still be on, of course, and your DVR, your security camera, is also recording as well. They all are on a delayed timer to go off, so you don't have to worry too much about that cutting on and off on those. Wouldn't have to even bother with those. So let's see what else we got here. Don't turn off the radio. Leave it at a comfortable volume. That's all normal operation. And so I guess right now, let's go ahead and talk more about the Synovia system. So I'm going to go ahead and make it where you can see my Synovia system I've got set up here on the desk, and we'll go through it from there. Okay, so here we are with the Synovia system. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it on just like what we would normally do when you start the bus. So I've got a little power supply. You should have heard that little beep. And then you'll see it light up, come on. It's booting up, and that's what it will do pretty much every morning on your bus. One of the things you want to look for is make sure that the red light on your scanner is on as well, because if the red light is not on, and you can just hold your hand under it and see, let's see if I can get this here like this. Hold your hand under it and see that it's on and working. So we'll let the Synovia system boot up real quick. Some of the things that are going to be important with the Synovia system working is that you make sure that you do a synchronization or sync it every time it comes up. All right, so it should come up, and I hope you can read this. I've got it zoomed in as close as I can. We've got a little start button, so that's what you should see every morning when you get on there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit start, just a touch thing. And what I'm generally going to do is run my route. And so you hit route and route services. All right, it's coming up and says, in this case, customers have not been synced recently. Would you like to sync now? Anytime I ask you to synchronize, please do so. So go ahead and hit yes. And my last synchronization on that was July 15th. So it didn't take long to synchronize that part. That's just listing who the customer is, and that would be just us. So here is San Marcos CISD. I'm going to select that, and it says, hey, routes have not been synchronized recently either. Would you like to synchronize now? So again, every time it asks you to synchronize, please do, because that's important for the operations for any updates, route changes, or anything like that. So I'm going to hit yes. Last synchronized on here was August 17th. And so it's a good idea to synchronize this pretty much every chance you get. So it's come up and it's give me a list of routes. Now what it's going to try to do, if I have it programmed correctly, is the first one up here in the left corner is 42 p.m. I'm running bus 42 right now, so your bus number should come up as the first couple of options there. So I've got 42 p.m. and I'm going to go ahead and run my 42 p.m. route. Click yes. And it says your runs have not been synchronized. Again, you've got your customers, your routes, your runs, and then we're going to have the students on this. Everything needs to be synchronized in order for it to work properly. So I'm going to go ahead and hit yes for to synchronize. Again, this was August 17th when it was last synchronized. And so now I've got my two runs on this thing. I've got 42, the PM for Rodriguez, for my elementary, and then my Goodnight High School routes as well. So I'm going to try to, I think I'm going to zoom in just a little bit more here, try to get you where you can see it a little bit better. And let's see if I can move it just a touch this way here. Okay, maybe you can see it a little bit better that way. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and run my Rodriguez route. So I'm going to hit select and select those two, because those are the two routes I'm going to run this afternoon. In the bottom corner down here, I'm going to hit continue. And it shows other routes too. Like I've got my AM Rodriguez route because that was previously run. I'm going to deselect my two AM runs because I don't want those, and only leave my PM runs selected, because that's what I'm going to try to run. I'm going to hit finish. And it says, do you wish to start your route? Yes, I do. And it says your stops and students have not been synchronized yet. Again, all these different sections have to be synchronized. So I'm going to synchronize those as well. And sometimes this takes a while, and sometimes it may time out on you, and then you hit synchronize again, because it's trying to pull through 3G wireless all that data. And so sometimes it does take quite a bit. Okay, that one was nice. That's the way it should work. Only took a few seconds. It's synchronized. So it gives me kind of my route list here. What time I'm supposed to clock in? 2:25. What time I leave the yard? 2:40. I've had 15 minutes for my pre-trip. I cross my railroad tracks at center point, and then down here in the bottom I'm going to go ahead and hit the next, because I've got 6 different pages of information. So I'm going to go ahead and hit next. It says I go to Rodriguez Elementary at 3:25, and then at 3:26 is my first stop. And so again, I'm at Rodriguez early. We've loaded up. I leave there at 3:25. 3:26 I go to there. I'm going to click on this one right here, and I'm going to look at the students. I hit students, and it shows me my 2 kids that are on that particular stop. Okay, I'm going to hit the back button here, and then I've got the second stop right here, and I click on students. Okay, I've got 1 student at that stop. So you can go through and look at all of your stops. I've got page after page of stops on here, and that's really all I need to do. Oops, I backed out of it too far, so I'm going to go ahead and hit route service and go back again real quick. And I should not have done that, but that's okay. Start your route. Okay, this time when I started my route, it did not ask me to synchronize. It was much quicker because I'd already synchronized it recently. So it says, I know I have current information, and so it just went on through. So all I need to do right here is go ahead and start my run. I load my kids, and I'm going to see if this works. I don't know. I haven't tried this in a while, so I don't have a card for a student to scan. So I have on my cell phone here, I have a little barcode that I can make up. And so I'm going to go ahead and scan that barcode. Okay, so you saw it. I scanned my card right there, and it's come up with an interesting thing. It says unknown rider. It gave me the rider's ID, and it says, are you allowed to board or deny boarding? And what's going to happen on that one is the barcode I just scanned was for my grandson, and he doesn't ride this route. And so it says that kid's not supposed to be on your route. So I can do a couple of things here. If I'm loading at the school and I know that kid is on my route, we're good to go. I would call dispatch and say, hey, listen, I've got rider number 101511. What do I do with this student? Do I allow them to ride or not? And the dispatch will tell you, yes, that student is on your bus. They're just not on your route sheet yet or something like that. And so then what you do is you hit allow rider to board. And so I've allowed them to board. Have talked with dispatch. I know that is a good student, and they are allowed on my bus and where I'm supposed to drop them off, even though they didn't quite make it to my route sheet yet, because sometimes it takes a few days for that to come up. Now, what's interesting about what I just did is, again, that's my grandson, and my daughter, I know, uses the Here Comes the Bus app. So when I said allow that student to ride, it just sent her a text saying, your student just got on the bus at Rodriguez Elementary. And my daughter knows this because I do this all the time. She just got a text, this morning saying, hey, he just got on the bus. And so she knows that he's sitting in her living room. He really did get on the bus, and I'm just testing with his card. So, but she'll send me a text in a little bit saying, are you testing stuff again? Which is what I do all the time. One of the things I've got on this thing is I actually have, now, when I list the students, I can click on this passenger button over here to the bottom right. If dispatch calls and says, hey, do you have little Johnny on your bus? You can click on this right here, and it lists all of your students. Now, because he's not listed by name because he's not on this route, but it'll show you the students of all the students that you have on the route. And you can quickly look and see, yes, that student is on my bus, or no, that student is not. Hopefully they'll all scan, all their cards will work, and everything will be happy. Reality is that probably won't happen, but we're working towards that goal. So again, I've got these students that are on the bus, and then as they drop off at the stops, they will be removed from this current passenger list. And so you'll see the count right here. I'm going to go back a notch. Right now my passenger count is 1. And I don't know if you can see that maybe in the corner too much. There you go. And so what you'll see is that passenger count will go up as you load the kids, and then as you drop them off at their stops, that passenger count will continue to go down. And hopefully when you finish your run, that passenger count's going to show 0. If it's not, say I've finished my route, it still shows 1. I can go ahead and hit that, see which student it was. Oh wait, that kid got off the bus, didn't scan off for some reason. All right, no big deal. You can hit delete, and it says, are you sure you wish to remove this passenger from your list? I go, yes, I do. And so now my passenger count is 0. Okay, that's really all I need to do. Okay, I've finished dropping off all of my elementary students. Now what I want to do is I need to go pick up my junior high and high school students. So at the top up here it says switch run. I'm going to go ahead and switch run. There's my Goodnight High School run right there. And I'm going to click on that. And it says, are you sure you wish to switch to this one? I'm going to go, yes, I do. Now again, it says the stops haven't been synchronized because I synchronized only my elementary. I have not synchronized my junior high and high school yet. I'm going to hit yes. And so it's going to go ahead and synchronize those students as well. Again, sometimes this takes a couple of minutes. Depends a lot on where you physically are sitting, where your bus is at the time. If you're kind of outside general 3G range, it's not going to synchronize very easily. That one did pretty good. Right now, I'm sitting in the office and I've got the antenna up in the window right there, just like it would be in your bus window. So it should be acting exactly like it does on the bus. So again, I've got my Goodnight 410, high school 416. Go pick those kids up, leave the bus loop. I'm going to go to page 2. First drop is at Center Point Road. Second part drop, Center Point and Gypsy Cove. So I'm going to look at what students I'm supposed to have there. I've got those 2 students right there on that stop. So I can kind of go through and look at my stop. It'd be nice to look at this and then look at the paper route that you have been given and make sure that they are all the same. Again, use your paper routes to do any updates and be sure you turn it into dispatch routing so that your routes can be updated. The better you keep up your paper routes and get it turned in, the better the Synovia is going to work, because it only works off the information that's given to it. And so if you're not keeping that current information current, it's not going to be current. So that's the general runs for everything. So when we're finished with all of this, I finished all of my routes. Really all I need to do when your route is finished is go back, turn it off. You don't really have to do anything at all. If you want to, you can hit this menu button in the top corner and hit home. And that's going to bring you back to ready to start. So that's kind of a brief general overview of the Synovia system. Next, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about the two-way radios. Okay, so now let's talk about two-way radios. Again, pretty much the same as what you've done before. You use the radios to communicate to base. That's really all that that they do. There's a two-way communication radio. I'm going to go over a lot with the handheld radio, which is what the sub-drivers and supervisors are going to be using. But then all the features I'm going to go over to the bus, and we're going to do the same thing with the bus ones as well. But so basically what we've got here, these are going to be the sub-driver radios and supervisor radios. It's a good 16-channel two-way radio. Turn it on, and I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not. We're going to try to get some of the other stuff. Where the normal operations, it's going to have at the top, and I'm going to put these on so I can actually see what I'm doing. SMISD BU1. That's what it shows at the very, very top, and I think you can read it, if I can get it in there. And then it says no calls. The BU1 is channel 1. We're going to use, right now, we have 16 channels. BU1 and BU2 are going to be dispatch channels for east side and west side. They're going to try to separate that traffic so that we can have a little bit more talk time with that. BU3 is going to be the supervisor's channel. Only go to that when they ask you to. There's not a BU4. The channel 4 is listed as all. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's listed as all. What that is a district-wide emergency channel. That is to be used for district-wide emergencies, and the law enforcement, the police department, sheriff's department, all EMS, all those can actually get onto that channel. If there is ever a need district-wide for that, we will be instructed to go to channel 4. And so that will get it to where we have all the emergency communications there. Then as we go back through channel 5 is listed as bottom. Each campus is going to have their own channel. There's bottom, buoy. I can't even read it because I'm looking at the camera backwards. Trying to get it where it's not bottom, buoy. You got Crockett, De Zavala, all the way through Lamar and the CDC. So each campus has their own individual channel. You should not need to go to those channels at all. If you need contact to those, that is for dispatch to talk to the campus directly. In the old way, what we were doing is if you needed, say, a supervisor to your bus, you would get on the radio, call dispatch. They would get on the telephone and they'd call the school office, and the school office would get on their radios and talk to the person that's at the bus loop. Now we're going to eliminate a few of those steps. You'll still contact dispatch and say, hey, I need to get a supervisor to my bus. And the reason is because dispatch has to log all those incidents. But then dispatch can get on that channel and call the campus directly and talk directly to the person who's at the bus loop and get them to address whatever's needed at that point. That will save a lot of steps, a lot of communication errors, and speed it up quite a bit. So by having each campus with their own channel, it should allow dispatch to get to them a lot quicker. Now, some of these campuses are going to be using that same channel for their intra-campus communications, but for the most part, that's going to be totally transparent to you. I just want you to know, hey, we have those channels, and that's how they can talk directly to them. So, again, each of the buses should be set to your dispatch channel. If you're on east side, you should be on BU2. West side, you're looking at BU1. And that's where it should stay at all times. However, I've got all the radios in the buses programmed to where they're listening to your assigned channel. And I'm going to use BU1 right now just as a example. So you're always on channel 1 and listen there, but it's also always listening to channel 4, the emergency channel. Okay? It should stay scanning like that at all times. That way, if there's ever anything, you'll hear it. Anything that comes up on the emergency channel, you'll hear it. You'll also be instructed probably to turn to channel 4, so that way you can do two-way communications with that. But it should always be listening to that. So you should not change any of the scanning, and I'm going to show you how that works. Now on the handheld radios, and this is, I'm going to get up really close to see if I can get the light off it so you can see it better. Down here in the bottom corner, it has a little arrow up there. That up arrow indicates that this radio is actually scanning at this time. And I know that's kind of not working very good. Anyways, so you've got your battery indicator, and then next to it is the arrow that says, hey, it's scanning. That arrow should be there at all times. Let me do this. So the way the radio should work for, again, for subs, and then the bus operation will be the same, and I'll go over any differences later. Right now, it's always scanning. And what I've also got is I have the radios programmed to where the keypad is locked. Right now, if I try to hit this button to turn off the scan, it's going to say, hey, keypad is locked. And let's turn it up a little bit so you can hear it. And it gives me a little indication of, hey, you can't change anything. So that does not allow you to turn off the scanning ability. I've got the keypads locked. You should never really do anything with the keypad. There should be no reason to change the keypad at all. Again, now that you can see which channel we're on. Go to channel 2, 3, all, and then going through the channels. So now that I got where I can see it better, that's all that you should have to do. Never need to change anything with the keypad at all, and it should always stay locked. So as far as general operations, that's all you need to know. Let me see if there's any other things I have in my notes here. Again, I talked to you about the LCRA towers, and so it should be a whole lot better as far as clarity goes. And I'm going to see if I can, we'll see if we can hear some of this. One thing they've done this year is they changed the handles to, instead of the 200s, to the 600s. I'm going to see if I can get a hold of, let's see, who do we need here? We'll try to get a hold of David. 607 to 604, David. He may still be asleep. I don't know. What you heard when I keyed it up is you heard a little beep. One thing that's great about these radios is you cannot talk over each other. When you key it up, it's going to beep and tell you, hey, that channel is ready for you to use. If it doesn't beep, don't talk. Don't start talking as soon as you key it up, not until you hear the beep. Moxie, do you have your radio? I'm gonna do, it's going to be a little bit hard. We may get some echo back in here because I've got it kind of loud, but we'll try it. And so, who are you? 610? What number are you? 608. 608. Okay, I'm going to try that, and we'll see if we can get Moxie to talk to us here. 607 to 608, Moxie.
608, go ahead.
All right, we're just doing a radio check for this training video, and so what I'm wanting them to hear is how clear it is. I don't know if they can pick it up on this camera or not.
10-4, you're coming through loud and clear.
Thank you. 607, clear.
608, clear.
Okay, so I think you can probably hear the difference in the quality of sound on those. Again, if she was trying to talk and I keyed up, I can't really demonstrate it to you right now, but I keyed up, instead of getting that beep saying, hey, you're ready to talk, what I would get is I would get a rapid beep saying, hey, that channel's busy, you can't talk right now. And again, that's going to eliminate our talking over each other problem. I think that's a fantastic feature that we've got in these new radios. Other than that, I'm going to open it up to questions here in a little bit, and I'm sure that you'll have a few questions on both the Synovia and the radios and such. And so we'll go over what I forgot to cover. Oh, one thing I did forget to cover. On the top of these radios, there's an A and a B switch. Always leave it on A. The B is a feature set that we are not using at this time, and so don't put it to B. So if at some point you're not seeing the display of the channel at the top, if it shows, I just switched over to B, and you'll see it booting up and coming up to something. If it shows that, you'll go, hey, wait a minute, I'm not in the right spot. You know, it's not doing the correct channel series. So I'm going to turn it back to A. It should say open sky, come up, and there we are. No calls, meaning it's not currently being used. The no calls will actually show something different if it's transmitting. If you're receiving a message, it will show which unit is doing the message. Now you won't know what units are, because that's just a list of serial numbers essentially, but it'll show that on the thing. Also down here on the bottom left corner, you've got the antenna and showing 2 bumps on the antenna. The other day, Brianna was having a problem in the office talking. She could hear everybody, but she couldn't talk to anybody. And that's because when we looked at it, she only had 1 bump on her signal level. So what I did is I took and gave her a larger antenna that I happen to have in the back stock here, and that cleared it up. Then she was able to transmit and receive both. So there may be some areas inside dark buildings, the concrete walls and such, where you don't get full signal. Just if you're having a problem, just look at your signal right there, and if it's, just like your cell phone, if you're not getting enough signal, see if you can find a different spot to get a little bit better signal so you can talk. In the buses, you should have no problem. We've got an external antenna on all the buses. They're out in the open. I don't anticipate any non-signal areas on the buses themselves. I think that pretty much covers the basic operations of the radio. So now I'm going to go out to the bus, and we're going to talk about the bus radios. I've got one right here that is a bus radio, and let's see if I can even power it up. And let's see here. Did I power it up? Just turn it on, and you'll see it booting and coming up, doing its startup, and then there it says, hey, same display as what we had on the other one. And pretty much all of these have got the same features as the handheld radios. And I'm going to go out to the bus and explain these buttons right here and let you know exactly what they are. There's an emergency button here, and the same thing on the top here. That is not working at this point. These are actually police radios, and that was their emergency call. It is not a feature set that we have at this point, but these actually were the police radios. Therefore, they are good radios, very durable and very clear. So we're going to go back and I'll go out to the bus, and we're going to talk about all the various features here on, get it to focus, there we go, on all the radio operations. Okay, so here we are on a bus. I'm going to go ahead and start it up, and we're going to look at the radio. Right now you're going to notice that radio volume knob is on, but the radio is not on. It's got a 1 minute delay before it comes back on. Go ahead and pressure up my tank here. Okay, everything's pressured up. Let's see what we can do with the radio. Again, it's got the delay, and it seems like a long time, so. All right, you'll see the radio just came on. It says BU1 and no calls. All right, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more on the radio itself if I can. We'll get a little bit closer in that. You can see a little bit more what's going on. I hope you can hear me over the noise of the bus as well. All right, so again, showed you the radio briefly from inside. Here's what we got outside. So right now, the radio is going to operate the same as all the other radios. Got your volume knob over here. You can turn it on and off, turn it up, down, whatever. I'm going to turn it off. So when I shut it down, it will come back on fairly quickly. And I usually keep my volume knob about 12 o'clock. That's a
a fairly comfortable noise level there, or volume level. So you can see right now, I don't know if you can see it or not through this. See the little arrow here rotating right here? That tells me that it's scanning. So this radio is set to scan channel 1 and channel 4, which is the emergency channel. So it should be scanning those channels at all times. The scan button right here will turn it to no scan. Don't do that. Make sure that it's on normal and it's scanning. All right? That way you're always listening to channel 4 as well. Got a couple of things we can do here. I'm going to go ahead and change. You can see I'm rotating through some of the channels. Got Bonham, Bowie, Crockett, De Zavala, Hernandez, whatever. I'm going to go back to channel 1. Whoops, I passed it. Back to channel 1, and got no calls. Right now, if I go ahead and for some reason I go to channel 3 to talk to the supervisors, they said go to 3 for some reason, they want to talk to me, whatever. Whenever I get done, I've got it programmed where channel 1 goes directly, where A goes back to channel 1. Okay? B will go back to channel 2. I don't guess I got this one programmed yet, so I'll have to work on this one. But I'm going to have channel A programmed to channel 1, B programmed to channel 2. That way, if you're east side or west side, whatever channel you're on, you can quickly go back to your assigned channel. Again, you will have assigned channels. West side 1, east side 2, unless we only have one dispatcher, and then they'll probably all be running off of channel 1. So that's probably going to change throughout the semester. I don't know. We're still working out all the details on that. The goal is to reduce the amount of traffic that we've got on these radios so that you can always get on when you need to. So really, none of these other buttons do you even need to touch. If anything gets messed up at any point, just turn it off, turn it back on. It should come back up right to this point right here. Again, I got my volume set at a comfortable level. This button over here is for brightness. What you can do is I can take it down and you'll see it getting dimmer, or I can turn it up and you'll see it getting brighter. I know that I do that with my Synovia in the morning. When it's dark, I usually turn the brightness down a little bit because otherwise it's glaring and kind of blinding you from seeing the road properly. That's really the only buttons you need to touch here is your volume and your channel knob. There really should be nothing else that you need to touch other than making sure that it's always scanning. Again, radio operations, I'm going to back out a little bit. Some of them are going to be here, some of them are going to be in different places. Microphone should be handy right here. I've got it on a fairly short tether so that it doesn't get away from you too far. Got tied back. But again, it should be nice and convenient. Some of the radios are going to be mounted down beside the driver. Some of the radios are going to be mounted up top. Different buses are going to be mounted in different places. We had to mount them in different places because of the way we got the security cameras in some cases. Had to avoid those. So again, don't worry too much about where the radio is. It's always going to be convenient for the driver to operate. I'm going to go ahead and let you hear something. I'm going to go ahead and turn this down. I'm going to key up my radio, my handheld radio, and I'm going to be transmitting on channel 1. And I'm going to try to talk on channel 1 here. And I'm going to turn it really loud. You should be able to hear the beeps that says, hey, you're not allowed to talk yet. It's not ready. So I'm going to go ahead and see that 3 beeps? That says, the 3 beeps says the channel is busy, don't talk yet. Again, never talk until you actually hear the beep. I'm going to key it, and then it gets the beep. Again, if I'm doing this, I'm going to turn this down a little bit so it doesn't do too much. Right here, it says which unit is actually transmitting. Yeah, I better zoom in on that. You can't see that very well. Focus up. Come on. All right, so right now what you'll see when I keyed up, it says no calls. And you can see who's transmitting right there. Turn it off, no calls. So you can always see, but you're not gonna know, again, not gonna know which unit 2701 is. So there you go. That's the general bus operations. That should cover that for now.